Hey guys, back with another video. Thanks for watching, and thanks for also keep watching to this channel. There was a couple of people subscribing to it. That's really nice. That makes it seem like I'm talking less into a void than it might feel when I'm sitting talking to the camera. But today is about another struggle on the guitar for me, and it's probably the major struggle most guitarists and musicians have. It's about practicing, and practicing can be surprisingly iffy topic for some musician to talk to. I had it loads of times. You ask someone you admire, who you think who's a bit higher up the road, and how do you have any tips for how to practice, how to get better? And they might say, oh, all I do is listen to Wes Montgomery, and then you're like, oh yeah, that's really cool, but then I would be like, I listen to Wes Montgomery and I don't sound like you or him or anybody. That's good. So sometimes people kind of have trouble to kind of giving you a clear roadmap, or either they don't want to, or they just maybe it really works for them. Maybe all that person does is listen to Wes Montgomery, transcribe a lot, and just become amazing. Different things work for different people. Or some people say, oh, I don't practice at all, I just play gigs all the time. Which, well, that's great. If you usually at the moment where you're struggling to practice, very often you don't have enough gigs either to play, especially in jazz. So a lot of those conversations often I feel are not very fruitful in the sense that they actually help you. So I decided I teach you a little bit, not teach you, I show you a little bit how my approach to practicing was and how it changed over the years. A huge thing I did is a teacher in Germany gave me like a practice sheet with like different areas with a time limit, not a time limit, but a time suggestion. So it was like, do such and such for so many minutes. And I went through like all the basic stuff. And I think at the end you were like at 5 hours. And if you do that really focused, that's a lot. Like that's 5 hours daily practice. That's serious. And I did it for a little bit, not as religious and not as often as I should, but I did it for a while, and it really helped me. Over the time, I don't practice 5 hours now, rarely, because I usually don't have the time or the patience to do it. But I kept that system of writing things down. So I usually get every year, or if I write more than a year, I get like a practice journal. This is like something from 2009. There, once I write thoughts down whenever I have a lesson with someone I like Lage or Tommy or someone else, or I talk even to a friend about it, I write ideas down so I don't forget them. If they say, I do this thing over that thing, I like to write things down and come back to them later because it helps my brain to kind of relax a little bit. What I also do is kind of write down a practice routine in those chunks, as my teacher once showed me. So you can see it, where is it here? This is like an older one from March 2019. It changed to what I do now because it's like almost a year ago. It's constantly changing, but it kind of can help you to focus a little bit. If you look at that, you kind of see there's different subjects with a time, and there's chunks. There's like this chunk here, then there's this chunk here, and there's this chunk here. So first of all, why are there 3 different chunks? The reason for that is back pain, simple and easy. When I was in college and I did like beefier transcriptions and stuff like that, I sometimes sat down for hours and practiced, like kind of like our buddy Jim Hall there, like grown into the guitar like a tree, and that can really be bad for your lower back, and it's excruciating back pain. So what I did, what someone told me to do, is like always have chunks. So I have like chunks of different areas I work on, and then after like 50 to 55 minutes, roughly an hour, I get up for 5 minutes and I do like a stretch, I drink a glass of water, I just move around a little bit to get out of this rut and out of this chair. Then I do another hour, roughly 50 to 55 minutes, and then I do the same thing. So you're never kind of like hunched over for too long, and I think that's super important for tendonitis, for your back, for everything. That's probably the most important practice tip I have. And then the next thing is kind of tricky, because the next thing is really depending on where you are in your musical guitar journey. I feel like if you're maybe at the start, or not even at the start, but if you're kind of new to something, very often it's worth it investing a lot of time into it. Like, let's say you're new to melodic minor. Like, doing 10 minutes a day of melodic minor doesn't get you that far. You kind of need to really sit down and get your head around it and think about it, and that can take hours at a time. But let's say what I'm going to tell you now, what I'm doing at the moment, is maybe more for someone who already did a good bit. Like, not that I know everything, there's still things I should really spend more time on, but you kind of have your areas that you worked on, and you want to continue to work on them on a daily basis and build a little bit of new stuff and kind of keep that drive. Because I feel at the start, very often when you start something like jazz guitar, you have this drive. There is like an enthusiasm. So you kind of soak everything up and you sit down and you do it for hours. We all had that probably in college, and you have your peers who are often like better than you, and you have this comparison, and it's like a bit of there's a natural drive. What I'm talking about is usually the fact after. Maybe you left college, maybe it's more of a job now a little bit. Getting that drive might be a bit more difficult on a daily basis, and you might be not as organized because maybe you don't have a teacher now every week to tell you what to do. You don't have peers to compare every week. You're kind of a bit more in the void. So I feel what really helped for me is writing stuff down. So what I have here in the first thing is like 10-minute warm-up. You can do everything, like a mechanical warm-up. Guys like Lage actually play a musical improvisation as a warm-up for like 5 to 10 minutes just to hear what's happening. But really anything that gets your fingers moving in a not too stressful way at the start is perfect. Then I have scales. 10 minutes of scales is of course like laughable. If you really want to work on a scale with the modes to try, it's, excuse the knocking, there's builders over there. You need more than 10 minutes. Obviously everybody will tell you that. But if you kind of have a rough idea of scales, like I kind of know my harmonic, melodic, minor, and major scale, like the three big ones we mostly need for jazz. There's more, but like I'm sounding like an idiot here because I'm like, oh, if you know the scales like I do, I still have lots of stuff to work. But like on a daily basis, I spend like 10 minutes to go through a few funny keys or to all of the keys across the neck, just keeping it going. Then I have 10 minutes of chords. There's like a little thing here, it says drop 3, so 10 minutes of drop 3 inversion. I usually do that through a tune, either through all 12 keys or I go like through a tune. Like the other day I was working on Sola, so I went through the Sola chords like across the neck in drop 3 voicings, trying if I can do it, and I couldn't, so I need more than 10 minutes, but it's it's there. Then I have 10 minutes of the blues. You should always practice the blues. It's the base. It's the basis of everything, really. And I have 10 minutes of a new tune. Just pick a new tune you want to work on and work on that. And that's the first 50 minutes. Before you scream at your screen right now or throw a vegetable or anything like that, this is not perfect. For whatever you do, it probably should be very different. It probably should be longer. It probably should be shorter. It should be anything. But the important part really for me was about writing it down and following it. Because it's easier to get not distracted and focused if you have a list. And then a 5-minute break, and then another list. Like after that, I have like 30 minutes of transcribing, arpeggios, and playing for 10 minutes. It's the next break. And after that, I have rhythmic practice. That can be odd meters or something funny with the metronome. A new tune, again, ear training, and just general playing, like having fun at the end. I changed that now. Ear training is something I personally really struggle, and a lot of people struggle. If you really struggle with something, put it on the top, because that makes you do it all the time. If you put it at the bottom, like that would be the third hour, there's days where you won't get to it. Dang. So this would be a 3-hour practice, which is missing a lot of things, but also has a lot of things in there. And that really helped me, having it written down in that form and going for it tick by tick, just having it organized. Because sometimes you just sit in front of this mountain of information that you should all know, but you don't, and you feel horrible about it, and you don't know what to do, and you just don't do anything because you just overwhelmed by the sheer amount of knowledge that's out there. And this stuff just helps you just chipping away at some of the basic things. Of course, this should always be subject to revision. Like I don't have my recent one here right now where the ear training is on top. I think I actually have it on the computer as a file. This should always be changing slightly for whatever you feel you should be working on. And it also shouldn't be religious. If I have, for example, a new tune the other day, The Way You Look Tonight, I had that like in the 10-minute new tune category, but I get stuck to it. And then I just did a chord melody and I just practiced it like for an hour or two, and the next day as well. So the plan was kind of obsolete. But I came back the next day, did the plan again. So don't stick to it religiously, but I feel it can really, really help you and can be really beneficiary if you think about what are you lacking, what you should always be practicing, and how you can organize that and write it down. So I hope that helps you. That can apply to every instrument, not only to the guitar. We should all probably be practicing more, and especially more consistently, but maybe that's a little thing that can help you. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I hope I see you probably in the next week. Hopefully, maybe not in the next week because there's a holiday, but hopefully soon. Okay, stick around for the channel. Thanks so much for listening, and see you. Bye.